A 13-year-old orphan with no money, no teacher, and no future challenged a grown samurai to a death match. He won. Not with strength. Not with technique. With something he had trained into his mind, something that made losing impossible. What he discovered that day would become one of the most powerful systems for developing discipline and self-control ever created. There is a training method Zen monasteries kept hidden for 400 years, not because it's complicated, but because it's so effective. It eliminates the need for willpower entirely. Western psychology identified it in 2018 and called it the discipline paradox. Musashi knew it in 1584 and called it something else, the way to make your mind obey you like a trained warrior obeys a master. Have you ever noticed how some people do the hardest things without internal struggle? They decide to wake up at 5 a.m., and they wake up at 5 a.m. They decide to train for 2 hours, and they train for 2 hours. They decide to fast, and they fast. No negotiation. No willpower battle. No motivation needed. While your mind constantly rebels against your decisions, their mind simply executes. You know that feeling when you decide to do something important and your mind immediately starts generating excuses? Start tomorrow. You're too tired. This isn't the right time. That internal war exhausts you before you even begin. What if I told you that war exists because you've never trained your mind, and a 16th century warrior who fought over 60 death matches without losing once developed the exact training protocol to eliminate that war? Today, you'll discover why discipline isn't about forcing yourself. Why self-control isn't about resisting temptation. And why Musashi's mind could command his body to do impossible things, while most people's minds can't even get them out of bed on time. But there's a catch. This training requires you to deliberately do uncomfortable things with no purpose except training your mind. Most people would rather keep struggling than do that. Now, let's begin with what happened before that first duel. Chapter 1, The Awakening. Musashi stood in the dirt courtyard of his village. Age 13. Parents dead. No home, no food, no future. And across from him, Arimakia, a grown samurai with a wooden staff, preparing to beat a child for the entertainment of the villagers. Musashi had challenged him not because he wanted to fight, but because he needed to prove something to himself. Could his mind control his fear, or would his fear control his mind? The previous week, Musashi had run from a dog, simple village dog. It barked, and he ran, heart pounding, breath panicked, body completely controlled by fear. As he hid behind a wall, he thought, I can't even control my reaction to a dog. How will I ever control my life? That night, he made a decision that would define everything. I will train my mind the way warriors train their bodies. I will make my mind obey me in every situation, starting with fear. For 7 days, Musashi trained, not with a sword, but with his mind. He would sit perfectly still and imagine the thing he feared most, death. He would feel the fear rise in his body, the racing heart, the tight chest, the urge to run. And instead of running, he would breathe slowly, deliberately, commanding his body. We sit. We breathe. We do not run. The first day, he lasted 30 seconds before his body stood up involuntarily and walked away. The fear was too strong. His mind rebelled. But Musashi understood something most people never learn: the mind is like an untrained horse. It will throw you off unless you train it to obey. Day 2, 45 seconds of sitting with fear before his body rebelled. Day 3, 2 minutes. Day 4, 5 minutes. Day 5, 10 minutes. By day 7, Musashi could sit with the image of his own death for 30 minutes without his body moving. His mind had learned, the master commands. We obey. The morning of the duel, villagers gathered, expecting to watch a child get beaten. But when Arimakia raised his staff and charged, something strange happened. Musashi's body didn't freeze. His breathing didn't change. His hands didn't shake. His mind was completely calm, watching, calculating, waiting. At the last moment, Musashi moved. He grabbed a stick from the ground and struck Arimakia once across the temple. The grown samurai fell unconscious. The crowd went silent. A 13-year-old orphan had just defeated a trained warrior, not through strength, but through absolute mental control. As Musashi walked away from the fallen samurai, he understood. I didn't win because I was stronger. I won because my mind obeyed me, and his mind betrayed him. His fear made him reckless. My control made me precise. Discipline is not about forcing the body. Discipline is about training the mind to command the body. That day, Musashi began developing what would become his complete system for training mental discipline and self-control, a system that would allow him to fight 60 more duels without losing, and make his mind so obedient that his body could execute any command, no matter how difficult or dangerous. Before this awakening, Musashi was like everyone else, his mind controlled him. After 7 days of training, he controlled his mind. The difference wasn't talent. It was training. And he had just proven it by defeating a grown warrior at age 13. Chapter 2, The Principle of Shin no Tanin, Forging the Mind. After his first duel, Musashi didn't celebrate. He went to the mountains alone for 30 days, not to train sword technique, but to train his mind. What he developed there would become the foundation of his discipline system, Shin no Tanin, the forging of the mind. Musashi wrote, "The warrior who trains only his body will lose to the warrior who trains his mind. The body is a tool. The mind is the craftsman. A skilled craftsman with a simple tool defeats an unskilled craftsman with the best tool. Train your mind first. Your body will follow. Discipline isn't built through grand acts of willpower. Discipline is built through thousands of micro-acts of mental obedience. Each time your mind obeys your command, even in tiny ways, the obedience pathway strengthens. Each time your mind disobeys and you accept it, the rebellion pathway strengthens. Most people train rebellion without realizing it. They decide to wake up at 6 a.m. The alarm rings. Their mind says, sleep more, and they obey their mind instead of their decision. They've just trained rebellion. They decide to exercise. Their mind says, you're too tired. They skip it. More rebellion training. They decide to eat healthy. Their mind says, just this once. They cave. Rebellion strengthens again. Musashi trained the opposite. He would give his mind small commands and demand obedience, no matter how uncomfortable. Wake at dawn when the body wants sleep. Immediately stand when the body wants to lie down. Walk to the river when the body wants warmth. Submerge in freezing water when every thought screams no. Sit for 10 minutes when every cell wants to escape. This wasn't about cold water. It was about training the mind. When I command, you obey, always, immediately, without negotiation. The first morning, his mind rebelled violently. As he stood at the river's edge, every thought screamed. Don't do it. Too cold. You'll get sick. Tomorrow is better. He stood there for 5 minutes, mind and body in complete rebellion. Then he commanded, we enter now. And he forced his body to move. The shock of cold water was brutal. But something profound happened. His mind learned that rebellion doesn't work. He would enforce obedience. A Stanford neuroscientist who has studied self-control for 20 years explains, each act of self-control strengthens what we call executive function pathways in the prefrontal cortex. Subjects who practice small acts of discipline, holding uncomfortable postures, delaying gratification by seconds, controlling breath during stress, show measurable strengthening of neural pathways associated with self-regulation. The key is consistency. Daily micro-acts of mental discipline create macro capacity for self-control. Musashi's daily forging exercises were brutally simple, physical obedience training. Sit perfectly still for 30 minutes despite discomfort. No scratching. No adjusting. No moving. Command your body, remain still. Result, the body learns to obey. Desire control training. When hungry, delay eating by 1 hour. Not for health reasons, for training. Command your mind, we eat when I decide, not when you want. Result, the master decides, not the appetite. Discomfort exposure training. Choose the hardest path, literally. When walking, choose the rocky path over the smooth one. Not for fitness, for training. Command your body, we take the difficult route because I command it. Result, the body learns that difficulty is not avoided when the master commands. Impulse interruption training. When an impulse arises, scratch an itch, adjust your position, check something, pause for 10 seconds before acting. Command your mind, we don't react immediately. We pause, we decide, then we act. Result, the mind learns it doesn't control behavior. The master does. After 30 days of training in the mountains, Musashi's mind had transformed. His body no longer controlled him through discomfort, cravings, or impulses. He controlled his body through mental command. The master-servant relationship was established. He tested this new discipline immediately. He walked into a town, and a merchant insulted him publicly. Musashi's immediate impulse was anger, retaliation, defending honor. But he commanded his mind, we feel the anger, we do not act on it. We walk away. His mind obeyed. His body walked away calmly while anger burned inside. The merchant was confused. The insult had no effect. This was the power of Shin no Tanin. His mind could feel everything but be controlled by nothing. Anger existed, but it didn't control behavior. Fear existed, but it didn't prevent action. Desire existed, but it didn't dictate choices. He was finally free because his mind was finally trained. Chapter 3, The Principle of Sazhan, Sein no Shihai. Mastery of the Spirit. 2 years after his first duel, Musashi faced a new problem. He had trained his mind to obey commands about physical discomfort and immediate impulses. But larger challenges, long-term goals, complex training, sustained discipline, still broke him. His mind would obey for days, then rebel. He needed something deeper. He discovered the second principle, Sein no Shihai, mastery of the spirit, the difference between controlling your mind moment to moment versus commanding your mind long-term. Musashi wrote, the warrior who controls his mind in battle but loses control in daily life has trained combat, not mastery. True discipline is not situation-dependent. True discipline is identity level. You are not someone who sometimes controls your mind. You are someone whose mind always obeys. This required a shift from, I will control my mind today, to, I am someone whose mind obeys me. From behavior to identity. He developed the identity forging protocol. Morning declaration. Before doing anything, state your identity out loud. I am Musashi. My mind obeys my commands without question. Discomfort does not control me. I control discomfort. Not as motivation, but as fact, identity reinforcement. Daily proof moments. Throughout the day, deliberately create moments that prove the identity. If your identity is, my mind obeys me, then command your mind to do something uncomfortable and enforce obedience. Each obedience moment reinforces, yes, this is who I am. Evening identity audit. Before sleep, review the day. Count moments of obedience versus rebellion. Obedience should increase daily. Rebellion should decrease daily. You're tracking identity strength, not just behaviors. Musashi's identity became unshakable through this practice, every morning declaration, every proof moment, every evening audit. After 6 months, his identity as someone whose mind obeys was so strong that rebellion became psychologically impossible. It wasn't that he forced himself to be disciplined, it was that being undisciplined contradicted who he was. A Harvard psychologist studying identity and behavior for 18 years found that identity-based habit formation shows 400% higher long-term maintenance than behavior-based habit formation. When subjects shift from, I am trying to be disciplined, to, I am a disciplined person, neural imaging shows decreased activity in regions associated with self-control effort and increased activity in regions associated with automatic behavior. Discipline becomes effortless because it is identity expression rather than behavior modification. Musashi tested this during his third duel at age 15. His opponent was Tadashima Okuyama, a famous swordsman known for psychological warfare. Before the duel, Tadashima mocked Musashi's youth, his lack of formal training, and his orphan status, every insult designed to trigger emotion, cloud judgment, and cause reckless action. Old Musashi, before identity training, might have reacted emotionally. But identity Musashi simply watched his mind. He felt anger rise. He felt the impulse to respond. Then he thought, I am someone whose mind obeys me. I am not someone whose mind obeys insults. Therefore, my mind will remain calm, and my body will remain still until the duel begins. His mind obeyed. The insults continued. His mind remained calm. When the duel started, Tadashima was confused. His psychological warfare had failed completely. Musashi's mind was focused entirely on combat, unaffected by emotion. He won quickly. After the duel, someone asked, "How did you remain calm during those insults?" Musashi answered, "I didn't remain calm. I commanded calm. And because I am someone whose mind obeys my commands, calm is what happened." This is the power of saying no Shahai. You're not trying to be disciplined. You're not forcing self-control. You are someone whose mind obeys. Discipline flows from identity, not from effort. Chapter 4, The Principle of Renshu no Koku. Continuous practice. At age 20, Musashi had trained his mind for 7 years. He had won 15 duels. He had absolute mental discipline in combat. But he noticed something troubling. Between duels, his discipline softened. Days without challenge made his mind lazy. He needed a way to maintain peak mental discipline constantly, not only when facing death. He developed the third principle, Renshu no Koku, continuous practice, the system for maintaining mental discipline through daily training, regardless of external circumstances. Musashi wrote, "The warrior who only disciplines his mind before battle will die in an unexpected fight. The warrior who disciplines his mind daily cannot be caught unprepared." Make discipline practice, not response to challenge. He created non-negotiable daily disciplines, small, uncomfortable, purposeless actions with only one goal, keep the mind trained to obey. The Daily Discipline Protocol. Morning cold exposure, every morning, regardless of weather or feeling, immerse in cold water for exactly 10 minutes. Not for health. Not for energy. For mental obedience training. The mind will scream to stop at minute 2. You remain until minute 10. Noon hunger extension. When hunger first appears, wait exactly 1 hour before eating. Not for fasting benefits, for impulse control training. The mind demands immediate satisfaction, you delay deliberately. Impulses don't control behavior. I do. Evening discomfort sitting, sit in an uncomfortable position for 20 minutes. Not meditation, just uncomfortable sitting. The mind will want to adjust, shift, move. You remain still until the timer ends. Discomfort exists, but it doesn't control action. The key, these disciplines serve no purpose except training your mind. Western minds struggle with this, why do something uncomfortable if there's no benefit? That question reveals why so many minds lack discipline. The benefit is the training. You're not sitting in discomfort to gain something else. You're training your mind to obey when things are uncomfortable. Musashi practiced these daily for 30 years. Traveling, find cold water and train. Injured, modify, but maintain. Sick, gentler, but continuous. The practice never stopped, because stopping meant regression. A Yale neuroscientist studying habit maintenance for 17 years explains, neural pathways strengthen through use and atrophy through disuse. Self-control pathways are no different. Subjects who practice daily self-control exercises maintain executive function capacity. Subjects who practice only when needed show rapid decline in self-control capacity. The brain requires continuous challenge to maintain capability. At age 30, Musashi was challenged by the Yoshio school, 3 duels in 1 day against their 3 best swordsmen. This was designed to be impossible, fresh warrior versus exhausted warrior, 3 times. But Musashi's mind had been training daily for 17 years. His mental discipline didn't deplete. First duel, he won quickly, remained calm. Second duel, he won efficiently, energy stable. Third duel, he won decisively, focus sharp. The Yoshio school was shocked. How did his mental state not deteriorate across 3 life-or-death battles? Because his mind had been training daily for 17 years. 3 duels in one day were nothing compared to 17 years of daily discipline practice. This is Renshu no Koku. Your mind is like a muscle. Daily training maintains strength. No training causes atrophy. Most people's minds are atrophied from lack of discipline practice. They expect to summon discipline when needed, but you can't access what you haven't built. Chapter 5, The Principle of Calm, the Stillness Response. By age 35, Musashi had fought over 40 duels. His mind was disciplined, obedient, trained. But he discovered a limitation: his discipline still required effort. Small effort, but effort nonetheless. He would command his mind, and his mind would obey. There was still slight internal friction. He wanted something deeper: discipline without effort, obedience without command. He found the 4th principle during a meditation retreat: calm, the stillness response. Not controlling the mind. Not commanding the mind. Creating a mind so still that discipline becomes natural rather than forced. Musashi wrote, "The disciplined warrior controls his mind like a general controls soldiers through command. The master warrior has no need to control his mind because his mind is naturally still. Still water doesn't need to be controlled. It naturally reflects without distortion. Make your mind still, and discipline becomes effortless." This was radically different from his previous training. Before, train the mind to obey commands. Now, train the mind to be so naturally calm that commands aren't needed. The calm training method. Morning stillness, 1 hour each dawn, sit in complete mental stillness. Don't force thoughts away. Don't control the mind. Watch thoughts arise and dissolve without engaging them. The mind learns, thoughts come, thoughts go. I am the stillness that watches, not the thoughts that move. Activity with stillness, throughout the day, maintain inner stillness during action. Walking, still mind, moving body. Eating, still mind, acting body. Training, still mind, working body. The mind learns, I can act without internal chaos. Action and stillness can coexist. Reaction is observation: when something triggers emotion, insult, danger, desire, pause before reacting. Watch the emotion rise in the still mind like a wave in still water. Watch it peak. Watch it dissolve. The mind learns, emotions are temporary movements in permanent stillness. They don't require action. After 1 year of calm training, Musashi's discipline transformed completely. Previously, he would feel anger rise and command himself to remain calm. That was discipline through control. Now, anger would rise in his still mind. He would watch it without engagement, and it would dissolve without needing to command anything. That was discipline through stillness. His 50th duel demonstrated this. His opponent was Sasaki Kojiro, the most famous swordsman in Japan. Before the duel, Musashi deliberately arrived 2 hours late. Kojiro waited on the island, growing more enraged with each passing minute. By the time Musashi arrived, Kojiro was furious, insulting and aggressive, exactly what Musashi wanted. Kojiro's mind was chaos, anger, impatience, wounded pride. Musashi's mind was still water. He felt no need to respond to insults because his still mind simply observed them as sounds, nothing more. When the duel began, Kojiro attacked with fury. Musashi moved with precision. One strike, and Kojiro fell dead. A witness asked Musashi, "How did his insults not affect you?" Musashi answered, "Insults are like wind. They move through still air, but still air doesn't become wind. It remains still. My mind is still air. His insults were wind. They moved through me. I remain still." This is Zanshin, not controlling your reaction, not forcing discipline, just being so fundamentally still that external chaos can't create internal chaos. The ultimate discipline is no discipline, only natural stillness that doesn't require control. A Princeton neuroscientist studying meditation and self-regulation for 19 years found that advanced meditation practitioners show decreased activity in the default mode network, the brain's self-referential system. When subjects achieve stable stillness, stressors and emotional triggers produce minimal neural activation. This isn't suppression. Brain imaging shows the limbic system simply doesn't activate as strongly. Stillness prevents the initial reactivity. This is effortless self-control because there's nothing to control. Chapter 6: The Complete Transformation. By age 50, Musashi had fought 60 duels without losing and had spent 37 years training his mind. The orphan who couldn't control his fear of a dog became a man whose mind was completely obedient, naturally still and impossibly disciplined. His daily life revealed the complete system in action. Morning, Shin no Tanren, forging the mind. He woke at dawn without an alarm. His body was trained to obey. He immersed himself in cold water immediately. No negotiation, pure obedience. Then, 1 hour of stillness sitting. His mind was naturally calm. He trained it into stillness before most people woke up. Midday, Shin no Shihai plus Renshu no Keizoku. He trained for hours without distraction. His identity was clear: I am someone who trains completely. He practiced deliberate discomfort. Continuous training maintained discipline. He didn't break focus for comfort or convenience. Evening, integration. He reflected on the day, reinforced identity, practiced more stillness, and prepared for tomorrow. He commanded his mind to become what tomorrow required. He slept with complete mental calm. The four principles working together created something remarkable. Shin no Tanren, forging the mind. Daily microacts of obedience training. The body obeys commands regardless of discomfort. This is the foundation of discipline. Shin no Shihai, mastery of spirit. Identity-level discipline: I am someone whose mind obeys. It replaces, I try to be disciplined. Discipline becomes an automatic expression of identity. Renshu no Keizoku, continuous practice. Non-negotiable daily training. The mind stays sharp through constant challenge, with no atrophy from disuse. Stillness, the ultimate level. A mind so naturally still that discipline requires no effort. Reactions don't arise strongly enough to need controlling. A visitor once asked Musashi, "How do you have such incredible discipline and self-control?" Musashi answered, "I don't have discipline. I trained discipline for 37 years, daily, without exception." Most people want discipline without training discipline. They want to train their mind while doing nothing to train it. They want self-control while never controlling themselves. That's like wanting strong muscles without ever lifting weight. It's impossible. His final lesson: your mind is currently untrained. That's why it disobeys you. That's why you lack discipline. That's why self-control feels impossible. But training is available: 7 days to see change, 30 days to feel transformation, 1 year to become unrecognizable, 10 years to achieve mastery. Most people won't do 7 days. That's why most people remain undisciplined their entire lives, not because they can't, but because they won't train. Chapter 7: The Truth About Discipline. Here's what Musashi understood that most people never learn: discipline is not a personality trait. It's a trained skill. You weren't born undisciplined, you've just never trained discipline. Every time you let your mind disobey you, sleeping through alarms, skipping workouts, breaking diets, procrastinating, giving into impulses, you're training your mind that rebellion works, that commands can be ignored, and that you're not really in control. After years of that training, your mind becomes expert at disobedience. Then you wonder why you lack discipline. You don't lack discipline. You've trained the opposite of discipline, and training creates results. Musashi trained in the opposite direction. Every morning, obedience training through cold water. Every day, identity reinforcement through deliberate challenges. Every evening, reflection and preparation. For 37 years, his mind learned that commands are absolute and obedience is inevitable. The master is in control. Western psychology calls this ego depletion and teaches that willpower is limited. Musashi would disagree. Willpower appears limited when your mind is untrained. A trained mind doesn't deplete because obedience is automatic, not effortful. You only feel depletion when you're fighting internal rebellion. Train obedience. Eliminate rebellion. Depletion disappears. Musashi wrote in the Book of Five Rings, "In all things, practice is essential. Study strategy over the years and achieve the spirit of the warrior. Today is victory over yourself of yesterday. Tomorrow is your victory over lesser men." Every wisdom tradition knew this.